just when I was recording it, I accidentally lifted my hand, it brings out the brightness again. Hello, my name is Luke Darling, and this is how I made my rendition of Justin Timberlake's new song, Drown. First, I want to say I am a huge fan of Justin Timberlake. He's always been an idol of mine. So it started off with just a piano. It's just MIDI piano. It's a plugin called Grand Rhapsody. It's a modeling plugin from an old piano that was used on 70s, 80s records. So that kind of sounds like this. What I like to do a lot of the times is I'll put a tape plugin on piano, because then there's a feature that I love. It's called, it's right here, the wow. And what it does is it wavers in pitch. It just gives it this, dusty feeling of an old recording. After the piano, I added a bunch of bass sounds. I use Moog or Moog, I don't even know how to pronounce it. This models an old synth from the 70s or 80s, but it's all over, Michael Jackson records, Madonna records. It's like just a really warm bass sound. So basically, I use this for all of the bass sounds in this song and most of my bass sounds in other tracks. It just depends. I'll also play live bass or layered underneath. There's a lot of cool different layers you can do with that. It just fills out the sound really nicely, and it has a lot of warm distortion, which for this track in particular, I wanted a lot of. I wanted it to just feel gritty and big and a little bit epic, but also sad in this way. So I'll give you a listen to the different bass sounds. So we kind of start with this one, but this is the one that pretty much goes throughout the whole record. And these are all played with the mod wheel. I think it adds a lot of movement to the record, and it makes a cool sound. A lot of these bass tracks are not quantized. They used to be played. And now with MIDI, what we do is we quantize everything, we put it to grid, we make sure everything's perfectly on beat, and that loses a lot of the human elements. It's when things are a little off beat or a little off pitch that it creates that organic sound that feels a lot fuller and less processed. My favorite is it's another Moog sound. If you have this, it's a preset on here that I tinker with a little bit, but it's called the front bass. I put it in a ton of choruses. You don't even hear it, you just feel it, and it hits you in the chest every time, and I just love it. It sounds like this. When it overloads, it almost changes pitch in a cool and interesting way that just kind of blows it out of the water. I wish I had a Juno 106. Those are expensive. I can't get a modeling plugin. I just haven't. And instead, I layer a lot of the times different textures coming from Serum, Massive, and then string plugins. So these kind of sound like that. I'll play it with the strings because that's more so, I think, the sound that you hear on the record. Pretty much everything in this track is LFO'd down a little bit, so the high frequencies are cut out. And what that does is it brings the vocal out a little more and lets it sit on top of a lot of the track. I like to do that it makes it feel a lot darker, less happy, less bright, and that's kind of what we're going for this song. It's a song about drowning and being sad in a lot of ways. So tried to bring that out, and that was my goal with the record. There's also a lot of mono synths, again, Moogs. It's basically what I use for everything. And then a couple, I think, that are just Massive, which I've been using since Massive and Serum. I've been using for about 8 years now when I used to record electronic music. So that was a good thing because I really honed my skills in those, and I can now kind of bring that to the table when I'm making more organic music. So they just sound like this. Again, I'll play just on MIDI on this. If you play 2 notes back to back and they overlap, it'll slide into it and it'll follow the same envelope pattern. So that's why you hear it's like really bright and then it darkens, and at a pretty much a random time, it was just when I was recording and I accidentally lifted my hand, it brings out the brightness again. The drums on this track are all MIDI. They're just samples that I found. I think some of them come from a recording I did a while back. These I think I have like one of those, but they're also just other sounds I found on Splice that I like to run through, again, a tape machine, like I was saying earlier with the piano, and just put the saturation on almost full, so it's like dirty and gritty and sounds like you were overloading some tape machine, pretty much. But here's what they sound like by the end. A ton of reverb. There are these orchestral sounds. That tom fill is actually just comes from a Lindrum, which is, again, an old drum machine from the 80s. I'll put them in, unprocess them in my own way, and extract a cool sound from something that already exists. The last thing I think in here is the vocal layering. Just with the backups, there's a ton of vocals in this track. So we've got like 4 in the chorus, 2, a double and I would call it a triple, 2 doubles and then 2 low ones, and they're all spread. If you're trying to make a song sound pop, line them up more. If you're going for more rock and organic, line them up less. I line them up some. If they're not lined up perfectly, they're gonna naturally rub together and they're gonna make a bigger sound. That's actually something that I took from Jeff Basker, some YouTube video or something I saw him. Shout out to Jeff, he's a brilliant producer as well. You should look at his work.
Show me exactly who you are, and I should have believed it.
Michael Jackson used to do this all the time. You also sing into the mic at different distances and also in different voices to kind of change up the textures of your voice.
You didn't even try to save me. You let me drown. And you...
I think that's it.
Want to say bye to your fans?
Bye. Thank you for listening. Just hit the subscribe button. Subscribe if you want. Hopefully I'll be coming out with a lot more of this content. Any new song that has come out recently, let me know in the comments if you want to hear a Luke Darling version of that, and then I'll break it down as I do. So yeah, thanks for watching.